We want to create this scene in restaurant playlist and render it. In this video, we are going to make two types of chair and two types of tables for the restaurant scene. Stay with us and watch it. Hello, welcome to the Atria Graphics channel. In this channel, we are going to teach you how to work with a series of softwares. If you like this video, press the subscribe button and press the bell to get a notification when we upload a video. And leave a comment if you have any questions. In this part of the video, we are going to make chair with this cube here. And we can delete the light and camera with shift left click and X for deleting them. Now we have to scale this cube along the z-axis for making base of our chair. And for doing that, you can go to the side view with 1 or 3 in the numpad. Okay, now we had to make the legs of chair with this cube. So we had to create 4 faces in this part of the cube for legs of our chair. And for doing that, we go to the edit mode, 7 numpad for going to the top view, Ctrl R for making a loop cut. And you can see this yellow line, that's a preview of the loop cut. And with left click, you can make it here, appear there, and move it, and right click for putting that in the right place. And you can, with pressing right click after that, you can put it in the middle of the cube. Ctrl Z for a few times and Ctrl R. We can increase the number of loop cuts with a scroll wheel on the mouse, or decrease them. And I think 2 is enough. Left click and right click for putting them in the middle, and SX for moving them along the X axis. And Ctrl R again, 2 loop cuts, SY, and this is our chair. Okay, we had to select these faces. For face select mode, you can press 3 or going to this part of the interface and select the faces with shift left click and 1 for going to side view, and EZ for extruding these faces along the Z axis. And we can select these 3 faces, 1 EZ. Okay, now we had to add a hole here. For adding hole in edit mode, Ctrl R, 1 here, Ctrl R again, and 1 here. 3 for going to select mode, the face select mode, and select this face. X for deleting that, and faces. Okay, you can see these places have, sorry about that, in these places you can see there is no face, so we had to create face for that. And we can press 1 for going to vertex select mode, shift left click for that, and F for filling that part of our mesh for creating face. And you can do it again, or you can select just these 2 and F again. That's easier. Okay, so we had to do something about these sharp edges in the chair, so we can go to the modifiers properties and adding a bevel modifier, and you can customize it because we want it a little offset, and adding segments. And this is kind of good chair for our scene. Okay, Now we had to duplicate this chair and make 4 chair, and after that we are going to model a table between these chairs. So you can duplicate the object with 2 shortcuts. One of them is Shift D and other one is Alt D. And there is a big difference in the objects we have duplicated by Alt D and in the object we have duplicated by Shift D. You can see the difference if we go to the edit mode in the main object and change the geometry. You can move the vertices with G. If you change the geometry of the main object and go to the object mode, you can see this one has changed. This one we have created with Alt D, and this one that we have created by Shift D is not changed, because there is a link between these two objects, and whatever we edit this object, this will change too. But this one doesn't have a link between this and main object. Okay, we can with Ctrl Z we go to the few steps back and we can duplicate these objects, Alt D and X for moving it along the Z axis, and RZ for rotating the object. Okay, now we had to build add a cube and make the table right in the middle of these 4 chairs. So you can see the origin point of the chairs here. So we can select them all and Shift S, course to selected. Kind of, if we press Shift S and course to world origin, the course will go back to the main first location of it, the kind of default location of the cursor. But if we press Shift S and if we select one object and press Shift S and course to selected, you can see the course will go to the origin of the object we have selected. And if we select 4 objects and we press Shift S and course to selected, it kind of goes to in the middle of the origin points. Okay, now we can add a cube, GZ and SZ, GZ, okay, 7 for going to top view, SY for scaling it along the y-axis, and SX, okay, a little SZ for make it thinner, and we can move this kind of here, SY again. Okay, now we had to add legs for the table like we have did for the chair. So you can press a slash on numpad for going to local view of the cube, and you can press it again for going back to global view of the interface. But these are little annoying here, so we press a slash on numpad 7 and edit mode, Ctrl R for adding loop cuts, and SY and Ctrl R again, SX. We come here and we select these 4 faces for our legs, slash for going back to the global view, and easy for making the table. and we can add modifier, bevel modifier for it, like the chairs, and make the offset lower and add segments for it. And this is it. This is our table. Okay, now we want to add another table and another kind of chair for our scene. And we can move the cursor to any place we want with shift right click. You can see we can move it any place we want to. And we want to add a cylinder and scale it along the X and Y axis. So we don't want this cylinder scale along the Z axis. So after pressing S, we press Shift Z and it's scaling along the X and Y axis. And I think this is enough. Okay, from the side view we can SZ for make it a little thinner, and GY, and if we look at that from the top view it's too big. S, and I think this is enough, and GY and GZ, because we want this table a little bit higher than this table. And we can set the cursor to the origin of this shape, this object. We can select it and choose the cursor to select it. Shift A for adding a new cube, S, and SZ, G, Z, S again, a little S, S Shift Z for make it thinner. Okay, can see it's right in the middle of that, and maybe a little. Okay, now that's okay. And we can add a modifier, subdivision surface modifier, and okay, you can see this is how it's become when we add the subdivision modifier, because it doesn't have a lot geometry and it will change. So we can add two loop cuts here, one here and one more here, to make it like this. I think that's GG for moving it along that axis. Okay, I think this is good. S Shift Z again for make it thinner, and so we can rotate it. If we press R, okay, you can see it is rotating along by the origin point of the shape, and we can set it for rotating along the 3D cursor. So if we rotate this now, you can see it is rotating around the 3D cursor, and I think this is good. We can scale it a little, we can scale it a little more along the Z-axis, but you can see it's scaling here with global Z-axis, but we want to scale it along this axis, kind of local Z-axis of the object. So we come here, choose local, and SC, you can see it's scaling along the local Z-axis. Okay, we get back to the global axis, and we want to four of these legs for our table. So we can press Alt D and R for rotating and Z for rotating it along the Z axis and 90 degrees. Okay, we can repeat this action with Shift R. Oh, sorry, Alt D, R, Z. We have to do it right after last action, and Shift R again. And this is our table. Okay, now we are going to add another chair with Shift A and cylinder. SZ and GZ. You can see we want this one, GY, and this one get a little bit down from this one, SZ, and we can add a subdivision surface modifier, and you can see because we don't have enough loop cuts here, this shape is messed up, kind of messed up. And Control R up and Control R again. I think this is good. We can do it another Control R and make it a little bit better. And with right click shade smooth, we can make it better, but these dark places we can make them better with auto smooth, and I think this is good. Now we had to add a hole on the chair. So how we can do that? We can add another cylinder. Maybe we do another cylinder, GY, and this is SZ, and 7 on the numpad. We want to this cylinder be the right middle of this one. So we press Shift S, cursor to selected, and after that Shift S again, selection to cursor. Okay, we can join these two objects together. We can kind of delete this part of the this object. We can do lots of works with them, and for that we had to go to the edit and preferences and add the bool tool. You can search bool and click on this checkbox here. I have added that before, so we can select this object, and after that with Shift select this one, and at first you have to select this, and after that this one, and use the difference tool. You can use this object to join these two together. You can use this one, and you can see they have lots of options for you here, but we use difference. Okay, I think this is good for our chair. Maybe we can scale this a little bit bigger and use the difference tool. Okay, I think this is good. Now we had to add some legs for the chair. We can add a cube, SZ, and S again. I think this is better, and SZ, GZ, and GZ again, SZ. Okay, we can Control 2, tab, Control 2 for adding a subdivision modifier. So whenever you Control 2 and you use Control 2, you can see subdivision surface is here. And if we use Control 3, subdivision surface come here with 3. You can increase or decrease the number of subdivision surface, but when you increase that, you can see the memory usage goes on, but in the large projects it can be very bad for the computer. So we leave it at 3 and Control R. Okay, and with shade smooth, it's a little big. Okay, now we want to rotate this, but you can see it's rotating along the around the origin. So we want to rotate the object around the cursor. So we come here and choose the 3D cursor and R for rotating that. R, S, Z. No, okay, you can see we want to scale it along this axis, but when we use SZ, you can see it's scaling along the global Z axis. So we want to scale it along the local Z axis. So we choose the local here and SZ, and I think this is better. And we can use, okay, this is not going to be here, so SZ along the Z-axis, GY not along the Z-axis, we want it global, so GY, and we want to duplicate this. Alt D, RZ 45, not 45, 19 degrees. Maybe but that's okay, and we can do press Shift R, sorry, Alt D RZ 90 degrees, and we can press Shift R again for doing the last action we have done. Okay, we can do Shift R, Shift R, Shift R, Shift R, and you can see these new objects here. So Control Z few times. For redo that, for undoing one action, we can use Control Z, and for redoing that, Control Shift Z. And this is our chair. We can parent this one, these legs to the top of the chair. So when you parent these 4 objects to another object with Control P and choose the Keep Transform, when you transform these objects, these 4 objects will follow the main object. You can see this parent object and this one's child of this parent. So how we do that? We select child first, or childs, it's not matter, first. After that we select main object, parent object, and press Control P, and we can parent them to keep the transfer. So if we move this, you can see the child will follow that, and they are not one object, they are separated. You can see here they are different objects. Okay, we press Shift Alt D, and here RZ. Okay, we want to rotate that along, not the 3D cursor, you know, if you rotate this, it's rotating around the 3D cursor. We get back to median point, and RZ, we can rotate it, Alt D again, rotate it, and Alt D. Okay, with RZ we can rotate it around, you know, like this. In the next video, we are going to make another table and another chair for restaurant scene. And we will use cloth simulation for creating a tablecloth for tables. If you like this video, press the subscribe button and press the bell to get a notification when we upload a video. And leave a comment if you have any questions.